Hey guys, Diggs404 here, Horrorboy465. Welcome back to some more reviews, and welcome to my review on Leprechaun 2. Now, Leprechaun 2 is right there. I don't know if I showed the disc to you guys yet, but right there, there's not much design to the disc. The first disc pretty much just has the first two movies posters, and then the second disc is a double-sided disc, so you're not really getting too much design from that. But Leprechaun 2 is a sequel to Leprechaun. It came out in 1994, a year later from Leprechaun 1. And honestly, this movie, I can honestly say it's a decent sequel. It's a bit better than the first movie. Not by a lot, but by a little bit, it's better. It actually gets a lower rate on IMDb. It gets a 4.4, and the original got a 4.7. And I would have to say that with this movie, with Leprechaun 2... I think I enjoyed it more because the pace went by a little bit more faster in this movie. This movie had some better gore effects, some better makeup effects, and some better ideas. I didn't mind some of the ideas they had in the film. Brought in some new stuff. It's really early in the franchise, but this is the point in the franchise where they started experimenting with a different location for Leprechaun. So, like, in this movie, Leprechaun 2... it's Leprechaun in the city, the Big Apple, New York. And then the third movie, it's Leprechaun in a casino, or in Las Vegas. And then Leprechaun 4, it's in space, and in the hood, and back to the hood. So, this is the point in the franchise where they started to experiment with different locations, with different, like, locations of where the Leprechaun is at. And I could definitely say that in this movie, it's definitely a fun idea. They're keeping it in the reasonable range, alright? We take it to outer space, that's too far. Okay, I can deal with Las Vegas. I can deal with Manhattan. Those are some fun ideas. But when you have it to where it's in outer space, I think that's too much. I think that is just way too much. And you really don't need to have an outer space. I mean, it's the same thing I got with Jason X. Jason X was in outer space, Jason in space. I hate the idea of taking a slasher and put him in outer space. I think it's ridiculous. There's only one film that I don't hate that is in outer space. It's a slasher film, and that is Hellraiser Bloodline. It's not a great film, but I don't hate Hellraiser Bloodline. I can actually watch it as a time waster. I know a lot of people hate Hellraiser 4 Bloodline, but I think that compared to 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, I think Hellraiser 4 is a little bit underrated. It's a little bit too hated, especially when you compare it to parts like 7 and parts 8 and 9. I think that Leprechaun or Hellraiser 4 Bloodline is time waster of a film. It's not great, but it's a time waster. But with this movie, okay, it got taken place in New York, I believe. I believe it's in New York. And I think it is in New York City. And okay, that's a fun idea. And I know these movies, like with this movie, it has a low budget. It's about $2 million. The budget's about $2 million. It grossed about $2 million, so it didn't really make that much money at all. Didn't necessarily bomb, but it didn't make that much money back. I can definitely say that with a low budget in this movie, I was more impressed with what they did in this movie than what they did in the first movie with the budget. The first movie, like I already said before, it was just boring. It's a time waster, decent horror film, but it's nothing really too special. Here, though, I can say that since it's a bit better than the first movie, I can definitely say it's a horror film that's a bit fun to watch. You have some really good gore effects in the film. You have Warwick Davis come back in this one to play Leprechaun, and he does a great job. Great return for the Leprechaun. I also really do enjoy the location of taking place in the big city, the Big Apple, New York. That's a pretty fun idea. Alright, you're going to change the scenery up and put it in the city? Okay, that's pretty cool. And even when it gets to Las Vegas, like, okay, that's pretty awesome because, you know, you're taking it and you're doing different locations. It's just they go too far with it when it's in outer space. But in this movie, being in the city, that's a pretty fun idea. And with Leprechaun 2, I would say that it still has problems. For me, the main problems are, the big problem is the acting. The acting in this movie is awful. I think in the first review I said that the acting was decent. It's not decent. After watching a few more clips of this film, and it's not decent acting. It's horrible acting. The best actors in the film are Warwick Davis and the lead characters, the character Cody, his, I think, uncle Morty, Sandy Barron, I think. Was it Sandy Barron? Oh, no, that was the... trying to see here real quick. Yeah, it was Sandy Barron. And he did a decent job. I thought he did a decent job. Yeah, he's like a cheapskate in the film, and he's all about the money and stuff. But as far as acting goes, the character was one of those likable, like, bad guys. Like the bad guys that you just can't hate. Even though he is a greedy character, his acting was better than Cody's. His acting was better than the lead girl, whatever her name was, Bridget. Siobhan Durkin and Charlie Heath. That's the people who played Cody and Bridget. They did awful jobs. The leads of the film, and they did awful. At least in the first movie, I mean, you had Jennifer Aniston in one of her earlier roles, and she's pretty hot in the film, and I mean that is a compliment. And she does a decent job acting-wise in the first movie. Decent job. Here, the acting is horrible. The two leads, Cody and Bridget, have no emotion when they act. It's just blank and no remote emotion at all. Just completely default acting with nothing behind it. Or when they do try to put something into it, it just sounds over the top. Especially towards the end of the film, where Cody goes on the rescue and goes to rescue his girlfriend Bridget. It gets pretty bad in the third act of the film as well. Towards the end, it gets really bad. But the story in this movie is a bit different from the first movie. I don't believe it's a continuation from the first movie. It's sort of like its own thing. Like at the beginning of the movie, you get a flashback and this guy running away from the Leprechaun, and I guess he was some sort of slave or some sort of like minion or maybe a servant of Leprechaun. And Leprechaun catches him running away, so he decides to put a spell on this girl, and the spell, I don't think it activates till like years and years later, on his 1000th birthday. And pretty much what happens, Leprechaun tells the guy he's going to track down this person through his blood, track down his great-great-granddaughter through his bloodline to the future, like times and stuff like that. And pretty much it goes to the time you see, the great-great-grandmother to the character, and it goes down the line of these different characters, and basically to where it is present, where it's his character Bridget. And Leprechaun is looking for a bride, so he's looking for Bridget, and he's going to basically go after her and make her his bride. And she already has a boyfriend named Cody. And Cody and his uncle sort of do this cheap rip-off, like, murder tour or something like that, or a haunted tour. They drive around New York City to these haunted locations, these murder scenes that are, it's a phony and a fake thing, but, they're trying to make some money off of it. And the character Cody is just a horrible actor. I mean, the guy who played him is a horrible actor, and just not really that interesting. You're sort of a kid that has this girlfriend and does his business with his uncle, and his uncle did a good job. The guy who played his uncle did a good job in this movie. Sandy Barron did a good job. Rest in peace, Sandy Barron. Did a good job in this movie, playing this sort of, like I said, like, he's all about the money, but at the same time, he still does care about Cody, but, he's still in it for the money. And basically, Leprechaun shows up looking for Bridget, and you got a few death scenes. And it's about Cody trying to protect Bridget from the Leprechaun. And, of course, the Morty character finds out about the Leprechaun as well. They all get sort of tied into this thing. And Leprechaun goes to the city, murdering some people. There's a scene where he's at a bar and like he pours like he like lets this hot like vapor come out this thing and melts this guy's face. Pretty good effect. There's a scene where I believe it's basically like a go kart from hell. There's like spikes on it and stuff like that. And he runs over a cop and it's pretty gory. There's also a few other ones in this movie, but there's not really much of a body count. I mean, it does have some good effects, but there's not much of the actual body count. Towards the beginning of the film, that servant to Leprechaun just gets his neck snapped once again. So there's just not much to the body count. There's a few good death scenes, but not really anything too strong. So yeah, the gore is pretty good, but it's not really there that much. But you do also have that really crazy death scene where there's this guy who's Cody's friend, and he has a crush on Cody's girlfriend, Bridget. And of course, Leprechaun is like, no, you're not going to get my wife, and has the kid think that he's seeing a naked Bridget, and he actually goes in to, fill her up. And he actually there's a freaking lawnmower right in front of his face, and it cuts him to pieces, cuts his head to pieces. Pretty good scene. And then from there on, you got Cody trying to protect Bridget. They're going through a lot of stuff, and it leads to the end of the film where Bridget is back in Leprechaun's lair, and he's telling her about how he wants to be her husband, and the wedding night's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be one hell of a wedding night and stuff like that. And he says that line, "Kiss me, I'm Irish." And Warwick Davis did a decent job in the film, pretty decent job. Some decent lines and stuff. Better than Leprechaun 4. Leprechaun 4, I thought the Leprechaun in that movie was just not funny, not interesting. I did not care for the Leprechaun 4. But Warwick Davis does a decent job in this film. And it pretty much leads to where Cody finds out that this Leprechaun is allergic to rust. Rust hurts him. So there's also a death scene where the Morty character puts Leprechaun into the safe. And of course, the safe is all rusted. And the Leprechaun's like, let me out. He's like, I'll let you out if you give me a wish. And the Leprechaun says, okay, name your wish. And of course, Morty's like, I wish for all of your gold. And of course, what happens is the gold pops up, but inside of his stomach. And so he has to use his second wish, or third wish, whatever it was, to let the Leprechaun out of the safe. And Leprechaun gets out of there and cuts his stomach open to get the gold out, therefore killing Morty. From there on, Cody finds Morty dead. He's pretty sad about it. Bridget gets kidnapped, so he's pretty much, this Cody character's on a revenge mission, gonna go save the day. And he goes to Leprechaun's lair. You think Leprechaun kills him, but he actually takes a piece of rusted metal and stabs Leprechaun. Leprechaun explodes. And that's pretty much the end of the film. And I don't know, it's a decent time, it's a decent film. This review might not be too long, but it's a decently fun time. Definitely does have some good gore effects when they are there. The new scenery was great. The new setting was great. Taking place in New York was a pretty fun idea. The score, I don't really remember too much from the score. It might have been just okay, I guess. It wasn't really too bad, but I can't really remember much from the score. The acting is a big problem in the film. The acting is horrible. Besides Warwick Davis and Sandy Barron, the rest of these characters are awful. And a decent plot of, okay, he's going to follow her bloodline down and the curse on the descendant of this guy. And, okay, it's years later, his 1000th birthday, and he goes to New York looking for this Bridget character. Okay, decent idea. Brand new premise. Granted, it doesn't really follow the original film, which is kind of weird, but, hey, they actually honestly don't follow each other. These films really don't follow each other. The Leprechaun 3 is a whole different thing. So is Leprechaun 4. But, yeah, Leprechaun 2, it's not as good as Leprechaun 3. Leprechaun 3 is a fun film, which I can't wait to talk about, but, it's better than the first movie. It's still the level of being a decent horror film. It's a decent fun time. And I can honestly say that the gore is great when it's there. And Warwick Davis did a good job in the film. The New York setting was pretty good. And, just altogether a pretty decent film. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review of Leprechaun 2, and I'll see you guys later on for my review on Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun in Las Vegas. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review of Leprechaun 2, and I'll see you guys in the next review. The Explorer 4 out. Bye, guys.